You're listening to the School Leadership Reimagined podcast, episode 90. How do builders like us make a dramatic difference in the lives of our students in spite of all the obstacles we face? How do you keep your vision for your school from being held hostage by resistant teachers, uncooperative parents, ridiculous district policies, or a lack of time, money, or resources? If you're facing those challenges right now, here's where you'll find the answers, strategies, and actionable tips you need to overcome any obstacle you face. You don't have to wait to make a difference in the lives of the people you serve. You can turn your school into a success story right now with the people and resources you already have. Let's get started. Hey builders, welcome to another episode of the School Leadership Reimagined podcast. I'm your host, Robyn Jackson, and today we are starting a brand new series that we're calling Boss, Leader, Builder. And the idea behind this series is to look at some of the challenges that you might be facing in your schools right now and look at how bosses handle them, how leaders handle them, and how builders handle them so that you can examine your own practice and determine whether or not the reason that you may be facing some of the challenges you're facing right now is because you may be using a paradigm that's really a boss paradigm. Because when you do that, that creates challenges. It doesn't help you solve them. Or maybe you're using a leadership paradigm, which helps you kind of manage those challenges, but not solve them for good. And then we're going to talk about how if you are using a boss or a leadership paradigm, how you can shift to a buildership paradigm and how doing that opens everything wide up. I am so excited to be sharing this series with you, especially because inside of Buildership University, we are starting to see that transformation happen, that people who are founding members of Buildership University, they are already going through that process, and the ahas and the epiphanies that we're experiencing there. It's just been really cool to watch. And speaking of Buildership University, we are going to be opening up the doors to Buildership University for new enrollments in a couple of weeks. So you want to stay tuned for that announcement. And the way that Buildership University works is we work on a quarter system. So every quarter we will open up an enrollment and then we'll close enrollment, and everybody who enrolls during that quarter, they will be a part of a cohort where we will take you together through the process of shifting from leadership to buildership. We will take you through the process of building the systems that you need to really be a builder and to operate your school from a perspective of buildership. So we're going to be doing that every quarter, and that way I can work with you personally. You're not just coming in and getting lost in all the materials. We're going to walk you through together. We've got some really cool things. I'll tell you more about Buildership University as we're going along. I'm so excited about what this is evolving into. In fact, we just finished our quarter one planning sprint. And so in Buildership University, we do these things called sprints where we are building tools or we're putting things together. And rather than having to do that on your own, we get together over the course of a couple of days, anywhere from 2 to 4 days. We meet together every day for about an hour and we build some aspect of that system. So we're doing it together. You can ask questions. You can see what other people are doing. And we just did our Q1 planning sprint. So we did a brand new Builder's Blueprint. And then we used a brand new tool that I'm actually going to be debuting at Builders Lab in a couple of weeks called the Quarterly Planning Canvas. And this thing is so amazing. We're using it ourselves at MindSteps. I've never gone through a quarterly planning process that has been as powerful as this one. So we just did our quarterly planning canvases and, I'm excited about what people are doing. And then the big comment that I got from a lot of people was, for years we've been told that we need to progress monitor or process monitor, and we never knew how to do it. But with this quarterly planning canvas, we now know how to do it. So that has been just incredible to see that evolution. And so when we open up Buildership University in a few weeks, you'll get an opportunity to go through any of the subsequent sprints that we have. And we are committing to doing at least one sprint a quarter where you get to get that hands-on support and build something together. So it's not just consuming a lot of content. You actually are taking it and using it and putting it in place in your school. So we're excited about that. The other thing I want to remind you about is Builders Lab. So Friday, January 8th was the last day that you could get a ticket for Builders Lab, and we could guarantee that you would get your box on time. That's not the last day to get a ticket. Your deadline for the last day to get a ticket is January 15. And then we will do our best to get the box to you, but we can't guarantee that it's going to get there on time. So you still, if you miss that deadline and you still want to come to Builders Lab, just know that you can still get tickets. We just can't guarantee that you'll get your Builders box. But I'm really excited about this upcoming Builders Lab because we've learned so much in the last 6 months, and we have some new tools that we're debuting. We've got a couple of new sections that we've added to Builders Lab that we've never taught before. It's just going to be, I just believe it's going to be an incredible experience. I think that we've gotten a lot more focused. We've gotten a lot more streamlined. And so you want to come to Builders Lab because at Builders Lab, what we're going to do is we're going to help you develop your vision. And then we're going to figure out what's the biggest obstacle for you achieving your vision right now. And then how do you remove it in the next 90 days? And even more than that, we're going to give you a system for continuously moving towards your vision, hitting a new victory every 90 days. The first 90-day process, after you learn this process, the first 90 days afterwards, we're going to walk with you through that process and help you so that you can successfully complete that first 90-day process. And once you learn it, you just keep repeating it every 90 days, one victory, one success after another. So what you learn at Builders Lab is not just some static thing. You are working on your stuff. You walk out with your customized plan, and then we follow up with you for the next 90 days to make sure that you actually achieve your plan in your school. So that's happening January 25 through 27, 2021. And if you're listening to this sometime in the future, just go to mindstepsinc.com/builders-lab, and you can find out when the next Builders Lab is happening and sign up for that. Now, the other big announcement, you've been hearing me talk about it, and the book is coming out in just a few short weeks. So I've written a brand new book. It's called Stop Leading, Start Building. And in that book, I take you step by step through the entire buildership model. This is probably the best book I've ever written. It's so useful. I mean, you could take this book and you could install your own buildership operating system inside of your school just by working through this book. And we've got a couple of really cool bonuses that we're adding to this book. We're going to be doing a mini course so that as you're reading the book, you can also take a mini course that can help you kind of work through the book together. We've got a quiz coming. I'm so excited about this. But as you can imagine, I'm going crazy right now because we've got Builders Lab coming up. We've got a couple of private Builders Labs that we're doing over the next few weeks. We've got the book coming out. We've got BU getting ready to open up for a new enrollment cycle. So things have been nuts here. And so I just want to let you know how grateful I am that you still tune in every week. And I'm so excited about this new podcast series because this is something that I've been wanting to do for a while. I keep putting it off. And I don't think we can put it off anymore. So we are going to talk about the difference between being a boss, a leader, and a builder. And today we're going to talk about the difference between the way a boss, a leader, and a builder plans and starts and launches initiatives. And I think this is really important, especially now because a lot of us have been taught a way to do strategic planning or quarterly planning, and it's not yielding fruit. We go through all of this rigmarole and these exercises and these root cause analyses, and we fill out all these planning sheets, and then we don't actually see the results that the plans were supposed to yield. And I think the reason that that's happening is because we are approaching our planning like either a boss or like a leader. So let me talk to you first about how bosses approach planning. Bosses focus on tactics. And tactics are specific individual things that we need to do. So they might write a year-long plan or they might write a 90-day plan, but it's focused on an individual tactic without thinking about how that tactic functions in the bigger picture. So a boss will do a plan for, we're going to do PBIS, or the boss will do a plan, we need to do an equity initiative. And so they're buying programs. They're focusing on a particular tactic. This year, we're going to focus on rigor. We need more differentiated instruction. And so they are choosing those tactics and they're building plans around those tactics. And here's why this can hurt you. When you build a plan around a tactic and the focus is on the tactic itself, decontextualized from your bigger goals from the school, you could fully implement the tactic and still not see the bigger result that you're looking for. I mean, how many times have you bought a program and you've implemented it, you rolled it out, everybody, started using it, and everyone got so focused on using that program or that new curriculum that they lost the bigger picture. I see a lot of leaders who are so frustrated because they have a new curriculum or they have a new reading program or something that they're implementing, and the teachers are going through the motions, but while they are obeying the letter of the law, they miss the spirit of the program and they get really frustrated. But the reason that they're so frustrated is not because the program is flawed. The reason they're frustrated is because they were planning as if the program were going to solve the problems. They were focused on the tactic that the program provided rather than focusing on the big picture. And this happens to us a lot. We were in some ways trained to do this. We were taught if you find the right program or the right curriculum, it'll happen. A lot of districts roll out programs and curricula this way. And so that's the model that's been set. I've worked in many districts where they have rolled out a new curriculum and they just kind of throw it at people. They don't talk to people about why we've chosen this curriculum, how this curriculum is going to help us achieve our bigger district vision, mission, and core values. It's kind of unconnected. Maybe the person who selected the curriculum did that kind of thinking. Maybe the person who selected the curriculum had that kind of plan in mind, but they haven't shared it with other people. And what I suspect is most of the time people buy something because they saw it somewhere, because a salesperson convinced them they need to do it, because another district is doing it or another school is doing it. They went to a conference, they saw somebody doing it, and they're like, whoa, that should work for me too. And whenever you grab a tactic, decontextualized from your vision, your mission, your core values, whenever you roll out a tactic without thinking about the bigger picture, you will always be disappointed. You're going to waste a lot of time, energy, and money trying to implement a tactic without, people will do it. People will abide by it, but it won't work unless it's connected to your vision, your mission, and your core values. So don't be a boss. Now, leaders say, you're right. We don't want to do tactics. So what leaders do is instead of focusing on tactics, leaders focus on strategies. So leaders work really hard to create a strategic plan every year. Everybody's kind of required to do that. And so you look down through the year and you look at your data, you look at a couple of data points that look disappointing. You say, we really need to fix this year. And so we're going to move these 51 seventh graders, or we really need to get the reading scores for first and second grade up. And you narrow things down. This is the way we were trained to do it. You narrow things down. You find that data point. And this year, we're going to focus on that. And the problem with a strategy that's decontextualized from a bigger vision, mission, and core values is that you go down the line chasing the strategy. And even if you achieve the strategic objective of your strategic plan, you still have other problems. There are other problems waiting. That strategy, if it's not connected to your vision, mission, and core values, it can help you put out a fire. It can help you, keep a part of your school from disintegrating or drowning, but it doesn't move your entire school forward. And so that's when people get caught up on what I call the School Improvement Hamster Wheel. Every year, they find their biggest problem. They spend the year, either they solve that problem or they don't solve it. They don't really solve the problem. They address the problem. And the moment you take your eye off the ball, that problem starts up again. I've worked in schools where they were in danger of being taken over by the state, and they do all this activity for a year and they get out of state takeover. But they can't maintain it because they were focused on strategies to get out of state takeover rather than thinking about how do we build a school that doesn't ever face this danger again. And so strategies don't work because strategies are about avoiding a problem, dealing with a pain point, doing something that kind of, can fix something over here. And they're not a part of the bigger context of where you want to take your school. I talk to too many school administrators, and when we're doing vision workshops and I'm trying to help them kind of develop a vision for their school, they can't see beyond their immediate problem. And it's not even their fault. This is how we were trained. We were trained when we look at data, we're trained to find the problems and then find a strategy to address a data point rather than thinking about what is the bigger picture? What kind of school do we want to build? And a lot of times you go and try to fix a problem that, doesn't even need fixing because that problem is a symptom of a deeper systemic issue. But when we're chasing strategies, we don't look at the whole system and how everything works together. We are looking at what's the biggest problem, what's the biggest pain point, and how do I solve it? And I see so many districts do this too. They come up with this strategic initiative and we're going to, deal with literacy. A lot of districts right now are dealing with equity. And I hate to say it, but they are doomed to failure because they are looking at strategies or tactics around equity rather than interrogating the system itself to figure out why do we have this inequality in the system. You are not going to achieve equity by ad hoc strategies. And districts will spend years focusing on equity and never achieve it because they are going from one strategy to the next. I saw it a couple of years ago. There was this flavor of the month thing where, there were these big equity speakers and they were going into districts. And basically what they were doing, they were throwing these white privilege grenades into the room and making everybody feel bad about their white privilege, and they weren't solving anything. So you have this cathartic conversation about race in the room as if that were the point. And the point is not to have the conversation about race. The point is to make it so that you never have to have those kinds of conversations about race again. I've seen districts do this with literacy. We're going to have this big literacy initiative, and they go in and they grab a literacy tactic. They change the curriculum around literacy. Everybody adopts a new curriculum. They get a little bump in scores, but they still don't get 100% of their kids reading by second grade. And then they jump to the next tactic. This is why teachers feel like they can wait us out, because they can. And a lot of our training has us focused on strategies. Even the idea of writing a strategic plan every single year that is completely decontextualized from the bigger vision, mission, and core values of our school is a setup for failure. Even if you achieve your strategic plan, and let's just be frank about this, most of us never achieve our strategic plan. And we even write strategic plans that feel doable and probably would happen anyway, because most of us have experience with, getting all excited at the beginning of the year with a strategic plan and halfway through the year realizing there's no way we're going to achieve it. That's because we're focusing on strategy. The whole strategic planning process is a setup for failure. And I see districts requiring schools to write these strategic plans that the moment that they're written on paper, they are just dead in the water. It's, a few years ago, I wrote an article, Is Your Strategic Plan DOA? You go through all of this work in the summertime to create a strategic plan. And by the time you commit that thing to paper, it's already dead. Why do we keep doing that to ourselves? And that's kind of how leaders approach planning. We think the solution is strategic planning. We are very good at creating plans. We are horrible at actually achieving those plans. And even if we achieve those plans, so what? It doesn't make this huge difference. We get a little bit of bump and then we're on to the next problem. It's a hamster wheel. We work harder and faster and we never reach our goals. So you don't want to be a boss and focus on tactics. That's just going to have you chasing your tail and running after the newest, greatest thing and chasing squirrels. You don't want to be a leader and chase strategy or strategic plans, because those are setups for failure. They're works of fiction. And we're great at writing plans. We're terrible about executing and evaluating those plans because the process is a setup. Our training around that is a setup for failure. What you want to be a builder. And builders don't focus on tactics. They don't focus on strategies. they focus on creating a concrete blueprint and master plan. So when you are a builder, before you even write a plan, you start out with your vision, your mission, and your core values. Because if you create a plan without a clear vision, mission, and core values, your plan is doomed to fail. And your plan has to be anchored in your vision, mission, and core values. So the first step that we do when we're working with people, before we help you create a plan, we first say, what is your vision? What's your mission? What are your core values? And if you don't have that, that's where we do the work. Because if you can have a clear vision, then the plan makes sense. If you have clear core values, then how you execute on the plan makes sense. If you have a clear mission, the tactics and the strategies that you use are going to become a lot more apparent because they are contextualized by your vision, mission, and core values. Your vision, mission, and core values create parameters around your plan, and they make your plan unique to your school. So there are no generic plans because every plan is unique based on your specific combination of your vision, your mission, and your core values. And that's also what makes the plan so powerful because it's personal. It's not just a generic plan. It comes out of the things that mean the most to you. It comes out of here's what we are trying to build. Here's how we go about building it. Here's how we treat each other in the process. And that's what's really important. So the first thing is builders focus on a plan that is anchored in your vision, mission, and core values. The second thing they do is they don't create strategic plans in the same way. So what we're teaching now is that builders have a vision that's a 3-year vision. So you may have a vision that you want all your kids reading at or above grade level by grade 2. You may have a vision that you want all of your students to show mastery on the standards, not proficiency. You want every student to master grade level standards. You may have a vision that all of your students graduate with a viable post-secondary option, college, 2 or 4 year college or university, an apprenticeship, or a commission to the military. Whatever your vision is, we're saying that you need to focus on how do I accomplish that in 3 years or less. So what builders do is they think about what do I want to happen and what's my vision, and they kind of look forward 3 years. They look at how am I going to achieve this vision in 3 years, and then they chip away at the progress towards their vision in 90-day cycles. So you have a vision. We work with you on the vision. You create a vision, and the vision has to include all students. So what do you want to see for 100% of your students in the next 3 years? And a lot of people say, well, and then they start kind of, writing these little limp visions because they don't actually believe that they can do it in 3 years. We don't know. You're going to have a bold vision for 3 years, and it's going to include all of your students. And then builders have a process for achieving that vision. It's not just a pipe dream. There are systems that you put in place. There is a process you follow, and you can achieve your vision. In fact, our builders are achieving their vision in between 18 months and 3 years. That's the process. And so that's what builders are thinking about. They're always thinking about, okay, we're going to plan in 3-year cycles, and then we're going to execute in 90-day sprints. And so that's how builders think about it. This is our vision. This is our mission. This is our core values. And then what they do, the way that they do it is they're not making plans. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to do the other. They stop and they say, what's keeping us from achieving our vision, mission, and core values right now? What's in the way? What's the biggest obstacle? And then what they do is they go and they say, okay, this is our biggest obstacle. So we're going to spend 90 days removing an obstacle. So rather than adding to their work, every 90 days, their work gets easier. It gets more clear. It gets more focused because they're removing an obstacle. Let me show you what I mean. So let's say that you have a vision that all of your students are going to demonstrate mastery over the reading and math standards in the next 3 years. Not just proficient. We're not trying to get them to proficient. Everybody's going to be at the mastery level. Okay. So then you say, all right, why aren't our kids all at the mastery level right now? You go do the work. You use the builder's blueprint to help you figure it out. And what you realize is that teachers are not teaching to mastery. Okay, so how do we get everybody teaching to mastery? What's the first step? Well, the first step is that teachers don't even understand what mastery looks like, and they don't understand how to get to mastery. So we're going to spend 90 days helping teachers understand what does mastery look like and what is the progression to mastery. So we're going to do some interrogating of the standards to understand what does mastery of these standards look like. And at the end of 90 days, the teachers are not only going to have an understanding of their standards and what mastery looks like for those standards, they are also going to break those standards down so they know what are the steps to mastery. In order to get to mastery, first kids have to know or be able to do this. Then these are the skills they're going to have to develop. And then this is the process, the thinking processes that they're going to have in order to master these standards. We're going to spend 90 days removing our biggest obstacle to mastery. Now, contrast that approach to the way that bosses do it. Bosses aren't even thinking about ever getting 100% of their kids towards mastery. They don't even believe it's possible. And so instead, they may force everyone to go through some sort of unpacking the standards exercise because it's a tactic, because they heard about it. And at the end of the time period, they have all these unpacked standards, but no improvement in teaching or learning in their schools. Now imagine how leaders might approach it. They're not going to just grab the tactic. Their strategic plan for the year is that we've got to have more rigor in our classrooms. And so unpacking the standards may be part of it. And they may focus on it for an entire year, but next year they have another focus. And so the teachers have all these unpacked standards. But at the beginning of the following year, when there's a new strategy in place, the teachers abandon the unpacked standards and they do something else. And every single year we're lurching from one initiative to the next rather than having this clear focus towards a tangible and desirable goal. So the builder looks at this and says, you know what? I want everybody to mastery. So we're going to spend 90 days unpacking the standards. At the end of 90 days, we are going to have clarity around what our standards are, and we're going to have clarity around the steps to achieve mastery. The next 90 days, we're going to take those standards that we've interrogated. We're going to take those steps towards mastery, and we're going to start implementing them in the classroom. And every 90 days, they are making steady, consistent progress towards the goal. And when you apply the tools of buildership to that keep you focused, that help you track and monitor along the way, you achieve a success every 90 days. And that success leads into the next 90-day cycle, into the next 90-day cycle. And you look up 18 months to 3 years from now, and it doesn't seem like such an unachievable goal. Once you have the process, every child achieving mastery feels not only doable, but necessary. That's a difference. That's a difference between the way that bosses and leaders focus and the way that builders focus. So if you are tired of chasing tactics that don't pay off, or if you are just frustrated because every year it seems like you're doing a new initiative, you're trying to get people geared up, and then at the end of the year, you work really hard, you may see a few incremental gains, and then next year you're on to the next thing. If you want to get off that school improvement hamster wheel, stop planning like a boss, stop planning like a leader, start planning like a builder. Start thinking about what is your 3-year target. That's your vision. And it's something for all students. So your 3-year target can't be in 3 years, we want to, increase reading scores so that we have 10% more kids at proficient. Stop doing that nonsense. What do you want to see happen for 100% of your kids in 3 years? Think about that. Create that kind of powerful vision. And then every 90 days, you're making progress. You are going to implement the work to achieving that vision every 90 days. You're not going to write a year-long strategic plan. You're going to write 90-day plans. You're not going to pick a tactic and say, we're going to focus on that for the year. No. Every 90 days, you're coming back. You're saying, okay, this is what we've done. What's next? What's our next big obstacle? We always say here at MindSteps, new level, new devil. When you write a year-long plan, you can't anticipate all the challenges you're going to face along the way. And it's why so many of our strategic plans get derailed. I mean, who could have anticipated COVID? Who can anticipate, a teacher going on maternity leave, one of the key teachers who was a, critical part of your plan, or all the other things that happen during the school year? We can't anticipate that. When you plan in 90-day cycles, you have time to recover. And as you get closer and closer to your goals, there are going to be new challenges that you can't even imagine having right now because you're too busy, kind of mired in where you are. You don't even know how to predict what those challenges are going to be. But when you plan and you execute in 90-day cycles, then every time there's a new challenge, you can come back and say, okay, how do we adjust our plan? The vision doesn't change, but your tactics and your strategies will necessarily change the closer and closer you get to your vision. So stop setting yourself up for failure. Come on over. Join us. As builders, you don't go from one frustration to the next. You go from one success to the next success. You have a plan and a process that makes a vision that feels kind of uncomfortable right now because you've never done anything like that before. We will help you get a process that will make that vision for 100% of your students doable. You'll be able to see how it all maps out, how you can get there and how you can get there in the next 18 months to 3 years. So stop thinking like a boss, stop thinking like a leader, and shift your mindset. Start thinking about what vision you want for your students. Think about how you might achieve that in the next 3 years, and then execute on that vision in 90-day cycles. You'll save yourself a lot of frustration. You'll have a lot more success stories to tell. And in 3 years, you'll achieve your vision like a builder. Hey, if you're ready to get started being a builder right away, then I want to invite you to join us at Buildership University. It's our exclusive online community for builders just like you, where you'll be able to get the exact training that you need to turn your school into a success story right now with the people and resources you already have. Inside, you'll find our best online courses, live trainings with me, tons of resources, templates, and exemplars, and monthly live office hours with me where you can ask me anything and get my help on whatever challenge you're facing right now. If you're tired of hitting obstacle after obstacle and you're sick of tiny little incremental gains each year, if you're ready to make a dramatic difference in your school right now, then you need to join Buildership University. Just go to buildershipuniversity.com and get started writing your school success story today.